Good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Fantastic. Well, we're going to get started now. My name's Sean. I'm the moderator for this webinar. I will be passing you over to Charles Peter just in a moment. So if you could just take a look at the screen and we'll get started anytime now.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for sparing a little bit of time during your lunch hour to join us for a short webinar. My name is Charles Peter. I'm the Managing Director of Datalaw, and for my sins, a senior partner in a Liverpool City solicitors practice. I'm going to talk for a moment or two about the new SRA competency statement. When we canvass solicitors that use us, we came up with some rather frightening statistics. 82% of solicitors whom we spoke with hadn't heard of the new competency statement requirements. 75% of solicitors who had heard of it didn't really know what to do. 25% of solicitors who had heard of it had some idea of how to proceed. And perhaps most frighteningly, 79% of solicitors, that's 79% of solicitors hadn't actually started to do anything at all. We spoke to a number of insurance companies, and they are very aware of the impact that non-compliance will have on solicitors in respect of their considerations whether or whether not to reinsure solicitors' practices who haven't complied with the new competency statement. And this is something that will come into effect on their renewal. And as for the poor practice managers, 80% of them feel anxious about how to deal with this problem. So what are the consequences of non-compliance? Well, the SRA can refuse to issue a practicing certificate. The SRA can take remedial action against the solicitor concerned. Insurance companies could refuse to offer insurance completely. And of course, as we all know, failure to monitor solicitors' compliance under this new regime could have serious consequences for the culp. The SRA have not been particularly clear and specific as to how solicitors should approach this difficult task. And here at Datalaw, we have spent probably in excess of 12 months gathering as much information as we can, speaking to people in the Solicitors Regulation Authority, and determining the best way forward for you and your solicitor's practice. So, what does this new competency statement mean to each solicitor, and how has it changed from what we're used to? Well, before the rules changed, all the solicitor really had to do was 16 CPD hours in almost any area of law that they felt was relevant, or indeed almost anything that they thought that was relevant as long as it was accredited. So towards the end of October, you'd often get criminal law solicitors doing conveyancing courses because they couldn't fit in everything that they needed to do in a year. And this was one of the reasons why the SRA decided to make these changes, because they felt that reasonably worthless training for a particular individual crammed into the last 10 days of a CPD year wasn't what they wanted. And so they've now introduced an ongoing form of learning which requires solicitors to reflect on their planned learning every month or indeed every quarter. And they've split what solicitors need to demonstrate that they learn into 4 different areas. The first is ethics, professionalism and judgment. The second is technical legal practice. The third is working with other people. And the fourth is managing themselves and their own work. And from now on, you are going to have to reflect on your practice to identify any learning needs that you think you may have. You then need to plan how you will address your learning needs. Then you have to execute the plan by completing the learning activities. Having done that, you need to evaluate how the learning activity has met the learning need you identified. And then you have to record how you've carried out this process, and you have to keep doing that on at least a quarterly basis. Okay. So how can data law help you with these particular new requirements that you have? Well, to answer that question, I'm going to pass you over to Angela McGreal, who is going to talk to you about what to do next.
Hi, my name is Angela McGreal. I'm in charge of the implementation of our learning management system across the business and for data law clients. What we here at Data Law have done to make this process easier is developed a set of rules following the SRA's own key competency statement areas, making the new process manageable and easy to follow. Because let's face it, you have enough work to do as it is. So all of your key areas are your reflection, plan, develop and record. So first of all, reflection. The SRA recommends quarterly reviews at least, so we've created a simple self-assessment tool allowing you to reflect on your current competency, which brings me to your next step, plan. Your completed self-assessment generates a unique personal development plan based on your answers. And develop. Now that you've done the basics, it's time to start acting on your identified areas. We provide access to over 600 courses on demand, which are integrated within your training plan in order to develop, maintain and build on your competence, with new courses and updates being added throughout the year by our expert speakers. And finally, to record. Documentation is a big part of your SRA evidence, so all of your steps are tracked automatically for you. Your training summary and SRA statement of competence allows you to quickly print your progress for any evidence that you might need. At this point, we're going to switch over to a screen share for my colleague Sean to walk us through the self-assessment. Rest assured, these next steps here will be shared with you online later via video and documentation, just in case you'd like to go back over it.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Angela. So before we move on to the screen share, I just want to talk about where we are within this webinar and what we've covered so far. The learning objectives covered so far are how the SRA changes affect you, what to know about the SRA changes, and how data law can help you at the SRA changes. Now I'm going to go through a screen share of the system and how you can take your SRA self-assessment. For the purposes of this webinar, we are going to assume that you have already registered with Data Law. If you haven't already registered with us, you can click on the sign up button on the top right and fill out the details needed. To take your self-assessment, first click on the sign in link at the top right corner. Then enter the email and password you registered with. Once you are logged in, go to the top right hand corner and select the black drop down arrow. Then select the third option down labelled Training Plan. Once you have entered the training plan page, click on the button labelled Take Your Self-Assessment. Now you will be presented with 23 multiple choice SRA assessment questions. The purpose of these questions is to allow you to effortlessly reflect on your training needs. You will need to read the questions carefully and select the option for each that best reflects your current status. If you get stuck on a question and need some guidance on what you are being asked to reflect upon, Select the link to the bottom right hand side labelled "Why is this important to the SRA?" A box will then appear that will give you a brief insight into what the question is asking in regards to the SRA. Once you've finished the self-assessment, you will be generated a custom training plan and SRA competency statement. Your training plan is created based upon the options that you selected. The training plan comes complete with a reflections column, your statement to the SRA in regards to your training needs and reflection, an action column, a progress column, and a notes column. Once you have reviewed your training plan, you can start to make progress on your action items by clicking on the Go to Course button. For each suggested action item, you will be taken directly to the most relevant and up-to-date CPD course. From here, you can see how easy it is to get on-demand CPD training. Any time spent on the relevant course will automatically be tracked and updated in the progress column in your training plan. A quick side note worth mentioning is that your training plan works best with our new Access All Areas subscription. This is a rolling monthly subscription with no contract that for just £49 a month gives you unlimited on-demand access to over 600 CPD courses. If you're not subscribed to our Access All Areas membership and you have not previously purchased the course, then it's not a problem. Simply click on the Go to Course button and you'll be directed to the course information and purchase page. The final feature I want to talk about is the Add a Training Note button in the additional notes column. If there is another way that you've met your training needs for the question provided, then this is a really handy way for you to add additional evidence for the SRA. To add a note, select the Add a Training Note button. From here, a box will pop up. Select the training type, enter a date and the volume of hours of training that you've done. Below you will see a text box where you can provide any additional information on that training item. All the notes can be viewed, edited and deleted by selecting the buttons below the note. Once you've completed your training plan and you're ready to use it as evidence for the SRA, it can be easily printed off by selecting the print button at the top of the page.
Great, thanks for that, Sean. Now, just before we move on to the Q&A, let's just summarise what we've covered so far. First, Charles covered how the SRA affects you. For example, the impact this will have on insurance renewals. Then, we covered what you need to know about the SRA changes. This involved the 4 key areas and the importance of ongoing quarterly reflection. After this, I talked briefly about how we can help you here at Datalaw. And finally, Sean went through taking the self-assessment and showed you some of the great features our system has, such as the additional notes for SRA evidencing, and just how easy it is to go from your training plan to take on-demand relevant CPD courses. And now moving on to the Q&A.
Hi everybody, can everybody hear? Yeah, of course, we'll provide you with slides. We'll provide you with slides and also some presentation notes and also a recording of what we've gone through today. Fantastic, thanks Thanks for letting me know. Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through any questions you have in the live chat with Angela, and also I'm going to go through some questions that we've been sent via email from other people that have taken the course recently as well. Yeah, Farrett, I'll send you those notes today. In fact, everybody will get a recording and the presentation sent to them within 2 hours after this webinar. Sure, no problem, Rita. Okay. Okay, let me just go through some of these questions then. First of all, Tarek asks, so Angela, Tarek asks, what's the charge of CPD courses?
Hi there, Tarek. Yeah, thanks for that question. Really good question, actually. There is quite a big range in terms of CPD course pricing. If you're actually buying individual webinars from ourselves, they range from anything at £20 plus VAT for an individual, up to £100 and above. So it all depends on the individual course, the course length. Our actual package deals, which include the access all areas, that's what we recommend for your support in the new competency statement. That gives you a large bundle of courses so that it works out a lot more cost effective. If you're buying all of the training that you need for the competency statement, normally you'd be looking at in the sort of high thousands ends, but with the sort of all-inclusive packages, it does work out a lot more cost effective. Thank you for that.
Brilliant. And we've had a question from Amin. Said, how can solicitors take the SRA self-assessment and make the grid if they are not subscribed to Datalaw's site?
So the SRA self-assessment is actually built in to our Datalaw website. You need to be signed up as a user, which is free to do. You'll be able to just sign in and take that self-assessment if you are registered. You'll be able to go straight to your training plan, and that will generate your personal development plan off the back of that self-assessment. You can choose to take the courses thereafter.
Yeah, brilliant. Let me just add one thing to that as well. It's completely free to sign up to the site, and the only reason why we ask you to sign up to the site is because once you've taken the courses, you get an easy link to. Once you've taken the self-assessment, you get an easy link to the CPD courses associated with your training needs. That's why we've done it through the site. Great. Let me just have a look at some more questions. Okay, I'll move on to our email questions.
Okay.
So we've got a question here. How important is the self-assessment?
That's another really good question. To be fair, the self-assessment actually forms part of the SRA's new competency statement requirements, and that is your first step to becoming compliant in the new regime. So it's all about making sure that you have reflected on your current competence, which will then provide your next steps in terms of what training you should be undergoing to back that up.
Great. Next question. So can this be used for individuals or is it just for law firms?
Yeah, okay, so another really good question, some good ones today. So it can actually either be used for individuals as well as law firms. We've tailored this to help any solicitor in any sort of challenge or particular need. So individual packages or firm packages give you sort of an overview and a risk management view of how your firm are performing. An individual one will let you know how your own risks are flagging up and where your saturation of training is.
Yeah, great answer. So just to take it back a little bit to the self-assessment, how long does it take? Now, I helped create the self-assessment, so I know personally, but you speak to solicitors all the time. How long do they usually take to get this self-assessment done?
5-10 minutes maximum it takes to go through that self-assessment. There's only 23 multiple choice questions, which actually encompass all of the SRA's key competency areas. So it makes sure that you're covering your general areas of law as well as what the new requirements are from the SRA. 5 to 10 minutes max.
Brilliant. I'm just reading a question here from Mohammed. Just
Okay.
give us one moment. So, Mohammed, I think the gist of your question is, can you take the training plan that you've already created from your own personal training plan, and can you apply that to the notes in our own SRA self-assessment? And I'm gonna take this one. completely yet. No
Yeah,
problem.
go ahead.
No problem what you're doing that, Mohammed. All you have to do is go into the training plan once you've gone and done the SRA self-assessment, and just add the additional notes there. Now, what I will say is, it's probably best to do both, because either way, we've gone through all of the SRA requirements and we've done a pretty good job at making sure that they're all covered. So I'd say, yeah, of course, go ahead and do both. And moving on to the next question for you, Angela.
Okay.
Okay. So the question is, how do I know that all my needs are covered for all the SRA requirements?
Yeah, so really good question there. The actual self-assessments, as we went through before, that encompasses all of the key competency statement areas. So that has those needs built in. So not only will it cover your general areas of law, it will also cover all of the additional areas that you need now as part of the new requirements. For instance, your personal skills and development, perhaps management level courses, if that's flagging up for you as well. And your regulatory and compliance, of course, that's really important too.
Great. I've got 2 questions in here which came from the questions at the bottom. So we've got one question here, which is, what is the cost to get this for an entire law firm? Is it £49 per month for individuals?
Okay, yeah, so just to break it down in terms of pricing, the packages start from individuals at the £49 plus VAT per month, which gives you the full risk management system and also hundreds of webinars to support you in that new scheme, which will be directed through your training plan. Now, firm memberships start anything. We start at the smallest membership from 10 users all the way up to the high thousands. So it's all down to the individual's needs, to be honest with you. Because you've actually attended the webinar today, I can provide bespoke pricing because it'll be linked to your attendance. So again, if there is anybody that needs immediate bespoke pricing, that's going to give you that sort of tailored usage for a firm with your risk management system across all users. Just flag it up in the notes for me here and I'll make sure that I prioritise you.
Great. Another question is from Barbara. What does the £49 per month cover? That's the question she's put here.
Yeah, so the £49 per month plus VAT covers all of your Access All Areas courses. So there's over 650 CPD hours, a big pot in there for you to choose from. All of your general areas of law, all of your personal skills and development, management level courses, regulatory and compliance, all of those key areas that you need for the SRA's competency statement, as well as your risk management system, so you can see where you're up to with your CPD, your self-assessments, and you can see your full dashboard and tracker.
Great. I've got a question here from Tariq. Is it mandatory to complete the CPD after self-assessment with Datalaw? That means whether we can move to other CPD providers to complete the CPD after assessment.
Okay, yeah, so very good question. It's not mandatory to take this training through Datalaw. You could take that self-assessment, which is free to take with ourselves, and you could find a course. Let's say, for example, we don't provide a specific course that you need. It's a bit more niche. Even if you do undergo that, you can come back and log into your account and add in that you've done that with an external provider. So there is an option when you add a note section to your completed training plan where you can actually reflect that you've completed that area of law as directed on your personal development plan.
Yeah, I mean, we get asked this question a lot, don't we? It's one that's come up a few times. And all I'd say to this one is, we're not trying to build the self-assessment to tie you into Datalaw, but we're trying to build the self-assessment to make it super easy for you to record and track all of your CPD. Once you've done a course with Datalaw, any time you spend on that course on our site is automatically tracked. There's a start date and end date. All of your questions and answers with that course is also tracked, and it's then automatically placed into your training plan. So instead of trying to tie you into Datalaw, what we're trying to do is just make it really, really easy for you to do your CPD training and to get all your recording and evaluation in that training plan with very little effort.
Okay, yeah, great.
So, Sana, you've asked me a question. If you attend any updated seminars in your relevant area of law, can you add this into your self-assessment? So I'll send that one over to you, to Angela. So
Yeah, so that's just coming back to what Sean's just mentioned. So any attended seminars, if you physically attended those, or if you've attended them elsewhere, yes, you can add them into your training plan in the add a note section. If you've attended seminars, webinars online with Datalaw, that will automatically be added in and completed within your training plan for you. So then as that image builds in terms of your continuing competence as you're developing on a month-on-month basis, that will actually build a picture that you've satisfied your SRA's competency statement. And when you're required to give evidence on that, you'll be able to just print that, whether it be for your insurance renewal purposes, whether you need to do it when you're renewing your practicing certificate, or for the SRA themselves, just print it straight from your account.
Brilliant. So we said at the beginning of this webinar, if you hung around to the end, we'd give everybody bespoke pricing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to Angela. But more importantly, if you're after a bespoke price for the system for more than one person, for a firm, for example, 10, 20 people, the best thing to do would be to email Angela, and we'll give everybody a bespoke price after this webinar. So just to hand it over to you, just to go through the bespoke pricing for this webinar, for anybody that's attended this webinar, Angela.
Okay, so just to touch on the starting points, again, it is all down to the individual size firm. So the normal starting price, there's a pay monthly subscription price, or there is an upfront price. The pay monthly option just allows you to roll that month on month, and that's starting from $199 plus VAT per month for up to 10 users. We are offering reduced rates on that to anyone who does need it immediately. Again, those prices go all the way up into the high thousands. The more users you have, the less that you pay per head, of course. That's how it generally works. And then individuals, of course, if you're just buying as a single, anything sort of less than 3 users will be better to do an individual user membership, and that's at $49 plus VAT. I'll just run through the differences between individual users and the firm memberships. So the individual user account just gives you your own personal view, and you can see all of your training plan and all of the suggested courses. The firm membership gives more of a practice manager level view. So you'll all get your individual personal training plans, and you'll all get your individual self-assessments to generate those. And you'll all be able to see each of your individual CPD tracked to be able to manage that. The practice manager level means that you'll get full visibility in terms of where your firm are at versus the new competency statement. So whether you're showing at risk, where your main saturation of training is, so that you can focus that in any particular area. If you feel that people are just focusing that on the general areas of law, you'll know straight away, and you can actually send reminders through the system to make sure that your risk side is actually covered as a firm. It's particularly useful for the COB, just to make sure that sort of risk is managed a lot better.
Fantastic. I just want to plug our next webinar just while we've got people on here. So our upcoming event that may be interested to people, it should be on screen now any second, is we have a similar webinar to this on the 11th of May, which is how to take your SRA self-assessment. Now what I would say is, if you're taking this webinar, you probably don't need to take that webinar because it's very similar. But more importantly, on the 17th of May, we have a webinar which is the COLP, what does the SRA expect? Now this is, I think, most important for the COLP or practice managers in your firm. And it is a completely different webinar to this one. It goes through the risk assessment issues for a practice manager. It goes through our practice manager dashboard, which does a lot of the hard work in collecting CPD and collecting who isn't and is up to date with their CPD for the practice manager and for the COLP.